There's no one coming to save you. You either do it or it doesn't get done. And I ended up getting to college at 14. We would go to class. He would make us run a mile before class outside barefoot over stones. You have to be surrounded by people that know more than you because they're gonna push you to be better and you're gonna learn a lot more. There's never once my dad told me that I couldn't do anything. If I wanted to do something, he'd be like, well, that's gonna take work. You're going to lose way more in this sport than you're gonna win. So I broke my back between L5 and S1.
On her wedding day.
On my wedding day. So even like doing a 5-pound dumbbell curl brought me to tears.
Today we're excited to get a chance to talk to Annette Moon, mainly because I'm pretty stoked to have you find out more about her. It's shocking. You meet people and they're really cool and you don't understand how they became so cool. Not only do we pick her brain about bodybuilding, but her background is a pretty awesome story. Like, I'll be honest, it'd be a good book. And so we're going to dig in a little bit and start with where you started. Where were you born?
Thanks, Joe. So I was born in Michigan, and I moved out here to Utah when I was 18. But my story from how I got from Michigan to Utah is kind of intriguing. So my mom actually passed away when I was 10. And that was obviously like hard for me and my family. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, and my oldest sibling is 15 years older than me. So when my mom did pass away, it was really just me and my brother left in the house, and my dad took it pretty hard. So at that point, you know, I kind of recognized from a very young age that I needed to step up and, you know, help my dad because he was not in a good spot, like mentally. And, you know, I think everyone can relate to if they lost their person, the love of their life, like how hard that would be.
Absolutely.
So it was definitely like very hard on my dad. And so at that time, I helped out a lot around the house. We had a business that I helped run. My dad would like give me the grocery money at 10 years old, and I would go down to the store and buy the groceries for the house. I would do all the cooking. It was a lot. But especially like at that time, I didn't know any different. Like that was just my reality, and I was just going to step up. Like that's just what you do. And also with my mom, she homeschooled all of me and my siblings from a very young age. But with me being the youngest in my family, when she did get sick, a lot of that got pushed on the back burner. And so I was in an interesting spot when she did pass away, because there was no one left to homeschool me. That was always her thing, not my dad's. And all my siblings were gone. And so I was left with the books. And there was like kind of a gap in knowledge between, you know, that time when she was sick. And so I made the decision to study super hard. And I had the books. I read them. I did my own homework. There was no one looking over my shoulder or telling me what I needed to do. So I just kind of took that on myself. And after a couple years, I took the test, and I ended up getting to college at 14.
At 14.
At 14. Yeah. So, and that was a fun adventure of its own, because there's not too many 14-year-olds that went to college. And so I'm all of a sudden at this new college, taking these college classes, and everyone around me is like 18, 19, 20.
Right.
So that was a very unique situation as well. But yeah, so I did college for a couple years. During that time, I was also studying martial arts, and I studied and trained in martial arts for 8 years, which at the time that it was a lot, because I was taking like full semesters in college. I was, you know, taking martial arts, and a couple years later, I also got a job at 16. So
you lived more from 10 to 16 than a lot of people live from 18 to 30.
Thanks. It was a whirlwind. You know, looking back, being where I am now, it's crazy to think about. But also, like, I remember at the time, there wasn't any other option.
Right.
Like,
you didn't know any different.
No, there was no one coming to save you. There was no one who's going to make it magically happen. It's like, you either do it or it doesn't get done. And
but the incredible thing about that effect on your character, you as me looking from the outside, I can see a million failure points where that could have not happened, where things could have gone wrong. You know, we don't think of 10-year-olds making these decisions about needing to study to be able to get into college when they're 14. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I love about your story, because as people get to know you, you have an incredible character. The first time that we met was not the way that you would normally meet. And I was just shocked at how confident you were and how you just have this larger than life presence than most people. And
thank you.
so as I found out, and we'll keep going, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but now it all makes sense, because I start seeing all of these, and you're just so matter of fact, like, yeah, well, you know, I just had to step up, and at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I do attribute a lot of my mindset to my parents, because my mom, my dad, they've always had a very strong mindset with whether it's, you know, work ethic and making sure you get it done right, or just the attitude that you have while you go through life.
Well, and not a lot of people have a business on the side.
No.
That alone, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. And that was kind of my mom's thing. She opened this bakery, and I think she opened it when I was 5. But from the time, like, it opened, like, it was the family business. We all just helped out. We helped make the bread. We would get up at 2 a.m. and start
make the bread.
Making the bread, and then we would go do deliveries, drop it off at people's houses. It was fun. It was a lot of work, but it was fun.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So then you get into martial arts.
Yep.
And then you start, what do you do in martial arts? How old are you now?
So I started martial arts when I was 12.
Right.
And my instructor with martial arts, he was definitely kind of I hope I can say this, but like a hard ass. He was an ex-Marine, and he went hard.
Yeah.
Where we would go to class, he would make us run a mile before class outside barefoot over stones.
Wow.
And again, if you didn't want to do it.
Right. That was the time to drop.
Yeah. And so whether it was, you know, running outside or actually being inside, doing the martial arts, doing the kicks and punches and forms. Right. If you fell short, you knew that you were going to have push-ups after class, and he would watch and he would make you do every single push-up. So
wow.
He was pretty strict and pretty firm with the way that he taught and ran his class. And he learned from some of the best in the industry. He went to Japan, learned from like masters, and brought that back and opened his own studio. So. And
then surprisingly enough, you throw Annette to the wolves, and she does.
Well, I tried not to get eaten, but.
You did more than try to not get eaten.
Yes.
You started instructing.
Yes, yeah. So after I had been training with martial arts for about 4 years, it was right around the time I got into college as well. Mm-hmm. He had me start helping teach some of the youth classes. So they're like little kids, which, you know, they're little. Yeah. But like I think it was like 3 to 5 year olds, and then 5 to 12 year olds. Right. I would go out instruct, and I would help run the classes with him.
So we're currently in Utah.
Yes.
And so we were talking about Michigan. All of this was happening in Michigan. How did you get from Michigan to Utah?
So when I was 16, that's when in Michigan you can get a job. And I was all about that because I knew a job meant freedom. And so at 16, I got a job, and I moved out of my dad's house. And it was funny because at the time, my dad was working night shifts. I moved in with a friend. And a month later, I get a text from my dad, and he's like, "Hey, just wondering, like, where are you?" It was like a month later.
Right.
And again, I love my dad so much, but it was just a very crazy time.
Yeah.
For just our entire family. So I moved out when I was 16. I continued to do college for another 2 years. And then when I was 18, I decided I wanted to pack up my car and move across country. My hometown in Michigan, it's pretty small. And I recognized that the mindset of a lot of the people around me, it just wasn't what I was looking for. They had this glass ceiling of, this is my life, this is all I can achieve.
Right.
And that's it. And that wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
I wanted more. I wanted opportunities. I wanted to go build something.
I would have loved to have met your mother because I feel like she prepared you to break that.
She definitely did. Yeah, she, in a lot of ways, her story as well, and we don't have to get into this today, but her story was phenomenal. Like, I look up to her a lot in that way. But yeah, so I packed up my car, and it was between Utah, California, and Florida. I was like, one of these three.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Both sides of the country are right in the middle.
Exactly. I mean, Michigan, I was like, California would be the farthest drive. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a super fun drive.
Right.
But Utah's a little bit closer.
Right.
So maybe I can start in Utah. And if I don't like it, I can drive to California.
Right.
So at this point, I'm like looking for apartments. I find this cheap apartment in Provo. I'm like, heck yeah, $350 for a shared room. I'm all about that.
Right.
All about saving money. And so I take over this girl's contract. And she's like, oh, I'm getting married. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'll take over your contract. Pack up my car. I make the drive from Michigan to Utah straight through.
You knew nobody in Utah.
I knew nobody. I had come out to visit, I think, once or twice.
And you drove from Michigan to Utah alone.
I did.
At 18.
Yep. And I was, at the time, I was all about saving money. So I was like, I'm not going to spend money on a hotel. Like, grab some energy drinks, grab some caffeine. I'm just going to drive straight through.
Wow.
And I did.
That's a long drive.
It was a long drive. I think it's 27, 30 hours.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was a long drive.
It was crazy. But I got to listen to my music, and I had a fun time coming out.
So you get out to Utah.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
It took my breath away looking at the mountains, and I can't explain it, but I just felt a call to the mountains. There was something about it. It was peaceful. It was powerful. So I get out to Utah. I get settled in my room. And then I find out the contract I took over was BYU housing.
Right.
And I was not going to BYU.
For those of you who don't know, BYU housing is pretty restrictive.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of rules. And technically, you're only supposed to be going there if you're a student at BYU.
Right.
And I was not. So that only lasted a couple months. But it was a great way to get started out here. And at the time, I was working as a waitress. And so I was, working doubles, trying to bring in money. And I didn't know anyone out here. So I was like, well, I've got to find a way to be social, go meet people. And I found the country dancing community. And that was like such a big chapter in my life as well. So I started going dancing every single night. There was a spot to go country dancing 5 minutes from my apartment in Provo. And I just started going, and it was so fun to learn how to dance, to make the connections. Every single night, it was hundreds of people that I could go and talk to and just really start getting to know people out here. So that's what I did. I would work 8 to 10 hours, and then I would go dancing 5 days a week.
This is so crazy. Like, I don't mean to condense it this small, but here's this little girl who said, well, I need to be social. So she goes out and finds country dancing. And then how did country dancing go?
It was great. This was when I'm 18. So it took a couple years. But I ended up getting really good because I was going all the time. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of these venues that I was dancing at, I got to know the owners, and they actually asked me to come back and start instructing.
So strange.
Yeah.
This pattern keeps repeating itself.
Right?
Yeah.
So I ended up helping teach some of the classes at these dance venues. And I met some really cool people. Ended up, I had like 2 really close like dance partners, and we were just really good friends. But we started doing like private lessons even, where people would come, we would teach them how to dance, and then, you know, help them start going dancing. And so, yeah, we started like teaching, and that went on for a couple years. And then in 2020, I met this really cute guy at dancing.
Bound to happen. And it was actually out of the normal for me, because I had gone on a few dates with people that I met there. But for the most part, it was such a passion, just the dancing portion of it. I didn't want to date too many people that were going dancing, because I didn't want it to be weird or awkward if something happened. Yeah, exactly.
But this guy walks in that I hadn't seen there before, and he's looking pretty cute.
Brock,
his name's Brock. And he comes back, and I'm doing this crazy lift in the back of the dance hall. And he comes up and he's like, "Hey, can I try that with you?" And I give him like a look over. I'm like, yeah, he looks strong enough. I'm like, yeah, you can try it. So he tries it, nails it first time. And I was impressed.
He'd never done it before.
Never done it before.
Oh, okay.
Well, he had done it, but not with me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he does the lift, lifts me up in the air, puts me down. He's like, "Wow, thank you. Like, you should save me a dance later." It's like, "Okay." And then he walks away.
Brock's a stud.
He's a stud.
Yeah.
And I didn't know at the time, but he told me after, he was so nervous. He had seen me there a couple times and thought I was cute. And he was so nervous to come and ask to do the lift with me. But then after, he was so nervous, he couldn't ask me out. So he just sent me down. He's like, "Yeah, save me a dance." And he walks away.
Yeah.
And it was another like 6 months until I heard from him.
Wow.
And during that time, COVID happened. And so
oh, no.
Everything was shut down anyway. I wasn't going dancing. But, 6 months later, he reaches out again. And this is like right when dancing had opened back up.
Right.
He's like, "Hey, are you going dancing tonight?" I'm like, "Yes, I am."
Yes,
He's like, "Oh, me too." So he shows up. We connect, we talk again. And he's like, "Hey, I would love to ask you out." I was like, "Okay, that sounds great. But I'm going out of town for a work trip tomorrow. So if you want to wait 3 weeks, I would be happy to go out with you. But I'm going to Texas. I was doing summer sales at the time. I went to Texas to do like the door knocking."
Right.
And I was like, if you can last like 3 weeks, I'll go out with you."
And I wish Brock was here right now, because they are an incredibly cute couple. I really like talking to both Annette and Brock, because you feel like talking to one person. And so
yeah,
Brock's
amazing.
It's cool to hear the story behind it, because you guys were meant for each other.
Thank you. I definitely feel that way too, because, I've dated a lot of guys, but no one could keep up with me like Brock could.
So he waited 3 weeks.
So we waited 3 weeks.
Yes.
And
6 months.
Yes.
3 weeks.
He was very patient.
It was bound to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he had just gone through a divorce at the time. And so he was like still kind of getting back up on his feet after all that. And during those 3 weeks, he was dating a few other people, not like exclusively, but going on dates.
Right.
He was like, "I'm not ready to date." He stopped talking to all of them. But we had this date planned for 3 weeks out.
You got in his head.
I got in his head.
Yeah.
So I get back, and we go on our date, and the entire date, I kept like trying to sit next to him, and he kept like scooching away from me. He would not sit next to me, and he was like, nope, like trying to keep his space. But then after the date, we ended up setting up a second date, and then a third, and a fourth, and it just kept going.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed from afar is we've stumbled on this really cool community at Origin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Ryan's done a phenomenal job of creating this environment of very professional, driven people.
Yes.
It's not just anyone can come. It's maxed out. It's a waiting list only. But I love how the two of you really mingle throughout that community. The connections that you have there, I can totally see just fell naturally.
Yeah. And there are so many amazing people at Origins. Ryan, all are welcome.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you get a group of people like that together, it attracts like-minded people.
It makes you step up your game.
Yeah.
That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't feel comfortable where I'm at. I need to step up my game.
And I feel like, honestly, that applies to everything in life.
Yeah.
It's like if you're in a spot where you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. Yeah.
Like, you're not going to grow. You're not going to learn anything in there.
Right.
You have to be surrounded by people that know more than you, because they're going to push you to be better, and you're going to learn a lot more.
So we talked a little bit earlier about bodybuilding,
Mm-hmm.
and I like how you said, if you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room, because there's a lot of people that look at bodybuilding kind of like a bucket list thing. Like I want to get on the stage once,
Yes.
or I want to run a marathon once, or I want to do a triathlon once. And I feel like the people who have good character and commitment, that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
They survive the once, and then they just push on through. And you're preparing for potentially 3 competitions this year.
Mm-hmm.
And you're currently preparing for one in a couple of months, right?
Yes. Yep. End of March.
And so having a little bit of the background, I'm glad that people can kind of connect the dots of leadership. Very bold, exciting. Like when I think of an entrepreneur, that's an entrepreneur. It's not, oh my gosh, what if I fail at this? It's like, nope, I guess I need a social club, so let's go country dancing. And then I'm going to take it over like I did with martial arts. I'm going to take it over like I did with a really traumatic event in your life.
Yeah.
But that has progressed on into your professional life.
Yeah,
right?
100%. I feel like it applies to every single aspect of my life. And again, I thank my dad for this, but there's never once my dad told me that I couldn't do anything.
That's
it's
awesome.
Like, if I wanted to do something, he'd be like, well, that's going to take work.
That's a good dad.
And it's like, yeah, it's going to take work, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do anything. You can learn anything, any skill, any job, like even becoming a doctor. It's like,
yeah,
it takes time. It takes schooling. You could become a doctor.
My oldest son, when he was younger, said he wanted to be an astronaut. And I'll be honest, that was probably the time I had to bite my lip the most, because I mean, in my mind, I thought, I think there's like 4 of them. You know what I mean? But now he works for NASA.
I mean, I will say, I have a stepdaughter and love her to death. But there's definitely been times where she's like, oh, like I'm going to be a musician for like my career. I'm going to be the next Taylor Swift. I'm like, that's the route you want to go on. That's fine. But you're not going to have a lot of money for a long time. Like, it takes a lot of work to get to that level.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, again, there's certain career choices that are better than others,
Sure.
or I guess pay more than others.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a better way to say it. But I feel like ultimately you can do whatever you want to in life, whether it's a job, hobbies, being an athlete.
Yeah.
It's all mental.
I feel like as we get to about this point in life, and we've experienced some of life, and we've seen the potential effects of failure, we get a little bit more protective.
Mm-hmm.
That's why when I picture you at 10 years old or 16 or 14, taking those huge steps that every single one of them could have ended in failure. And it was just, this is the way it is. There's no other option.
Yeah.
Failure is not an option. We're just going to keep going. I'll find a way around it. That's, I think that's going to serve you really well in bodybuilding too, because bodybuilding, there's a lot of discipline. A lot of people don't think about you're an athlete 24/7. You're not an athlete for this season. You're constantly preparing. I mean, you just talked about earlier about how you're in your bulking phase, or you were going through a growth phase.
Yes.
I guess we don't say bulking phase for female bodybuilders. But that required no cardio.
Yeah.
For a year. And for some people, that would be like, well, I like cardio, so I'm not going to do that.
Well, and there's different seasons with bodybuilding. I feel like in order to progress in the sport, you do have to take an off season, especially when you're first getting into it, because you have to build muscle.
Right.
And I'm not at this point that I want to be yet. I'm just getting started with it. And I've been doing it for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting started. But it really takes so much discipline in the off season to have anything to show on stage.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to build muscle when you're trying to cut super hard for a competition.
Right.
Like, you have to already have the muscle there to show off. And so I think where a lot of athletes, you know, they kind of, back to your point earlier, they're like, oh, I just want to do one show. You can do one show, but even prepping for one show, you have to take like a year to even get ready to do one show if you don't have a ton of muscle.
Right.
Which a lot of people, they're more like lifestyle. They just, you know, try and live a healthy lifestyle, nutrition, work out a couple times a week. But it's very different from like targeting growing your shoulders, growing your glutes, making sure that the physique and the shape is there that you want for bodybuilding.
Right.
It's very different.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, even saying a year for prep for someone who's just coming into it, you're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Everyone
has a different starting point too.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people who previously have done a sport or maybe powerlifting. They come in with a lot of muscle.
Right.
They can do that.
Right.
Someone who's never lifted a day in their life, honestly, 1 to 3 years would be like minimum.
Yeah.
To be able to build that physique.
I remember the first bodybuilding show that I saw. I was kind of glad that I was already in the industry before I saw it, because I literally felt like this kid on the stage was mocking us. Like, there's no way. He hasn't tanned anything. There are no muscle lines. Like, you're just mocking us getting up there. And I don't know whether he just didn't understand but literally, like, that was the extreme. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think I would have told him,
I feel
come
like
back next year.
I feel like people do bodybuilding for different reasons.
Right.
There's a lot of people who have like a large weight transformation where they just lose a lot of weight. And that is something that they are working toward, and that is a goal of theirs.
Right.
And I think in that regard, like, you should do it. Go do that show. If that is what makes you feel good, if that's what you've been working toward,
right,
that's great.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, even if they only do one competition, that might be their goal. And if that's what they want, that's totally fine. But it's where the difference comes in is you're not going to be competitive just doing one show. You're not going to be competitive just doing a cut.
Right.
So it's just different goals, different priorities.
And if there's an expectation that you're going to go out there and you're going to win overall right out of the gate, your very first time, that can be demoralizing. Yeah, exactly.
My coach always tells me, you're going to lose way more in this sport than you're going to win. Even as like I'm getting started with my bodybuilding journey, I'm just working my way up. You know, the goal is to turn pro, to be a professional bodybuilder.
Right.
But once you get there, you're starting over again. You're at the bottom of that pro list, and all the people that have turned pro before you, they're going to beat you in every single competition.
Right.
So you have to be okay with losing. And I feel like this sport is so much about your own personal progress.
Yeah.
If you step on stage with a better package than you did last year or the year before, that's progress. That's the goal.
That is a winner's mindset, because as I interview pros, as I interview people who are the best in the world at what they do, that's what I hear over and over and over. the reason that they weren't necessarily the best when they started out, but they kept going and everybody else left and they rose to the top. And so that inner fire, it really has to come from within. It's not going to come from motivation from without. And if you can't handle failure, you're not going to get there.
No, and you're going to be disappointed.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. That was the thing. I didn't want to lead you. And so that's what I told you. I said, I'm not going to tell you this because I don't want to lead you. But one of the things I love about talking to people who are really good at what they do is there's always these nuggets of truth that go across all aspects of success. And they have to be there. Like, people don't end up with a success story with a shortcut.
100%.
Like I say all the time, there's no shortcut to calluses.
Yeah.
You got to earn them.
Well, even in kind of going back to like the off season, I feel like a lot of people, they take that time. They're like, oh, it's my time off of being a bodybuilder. I'm just eating a lot of food and working out. And it's like, no, like that is your time to like lock in.
Yeah.
And there's no shortcut to getting that physique that you want. You just have to put in the work.
Yeah.
And whether that takes 1 year or 5 years, that's up to you. Yeah. If you're cutting corners, like, you're not going to get there.
The interesting thing is I meet I meet people with high IQs, which is not what people would think goes along with bodybuilding, but people have no idea what it takes to find a way to hit the right fibers, what it takes to eat the right type of food, what it takes to not only cut, but also be able to put on the muscle at the appropriate times in the appropriate places, and to grow this beautiful statue that took years and years and years of knowledge and effort. And I mean, I've loved bodybuilding since I was a child. And I told you jokingly that during the golden age of bodybuilding, I found out that bodybuilders go work out and then they go home and they eat, then they get a massage and then they take a nap and then they go work out, they go home and they eat. And I'm like, this is the life for me. Like, that's exactly what I want. And joking around a little bit, there's some truth to it, but there's a lot more discipline than people think. And I think it comes along the way. There's little motivating factors that get you to the next step and get you to the next step and keep you going.
Yeah. And even like eating the food, you would think that that's so simple, but it's not what people think.
No.
It's not like, oh yeah, you have to eat half a pizza and like get some Taco Bell on the way home.
Yeah.
No. It's, you have to eat a big bowl of chicken and rice. And sometimes you don't feel like eating. Sometimes you're full.
Yeah.
But if you want to grow, you've got to be disciplined when you're eating a ton of food, and later when you're cutting and you're trying to, prep for that competition and you're cutting down on the food and maybe you're hungry all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's extreme.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessarily like, if you're just looking at health, I wouldn't say like bodybuilding is the healthiest.
Right.
But it is such a fun sport. And especially as someone who already wants to live a healthy lifestyle, it gives me a goal to work toward.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think it can be healthy. I definitely think that in the industry, there are some things that are not as healthy. And I think there's people that try and push the boundaries a little bit and they get hurt. But for the most part, one of the things that I love about it, the very first time that I ever cut down to a single digit body fat percentage, is I realized that everybody has body dysmorphia. Everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. I felt like I was a Catholic priest because I couldn't be alone with someone without them confessing their love for Twinkies, or you know what I mean? And like you said, like sometimes you don't want to eat that chicken and rice. Every time someone would say to me, I'd love to do that, but I like food too much. I was like, I will make you sick of food and you will cut.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because a lot of people, they only see the cutting part and they think, oh, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
But they're like always telling me like, oh, I love food too much. I could never not eat. It's like, I eat so much food
Yeah.
It's not about not eating. It's about eating the right things.
I tried. Like, I would see these professional bodybuilders' diets, and I tried eating 8 meals a day, and I could not keep that going. Like, maybe one day I could get 8 meals in, but the reality was 6 meals a day was pushing it. That was just too much food.
And it takes time. It takes time to take out of your day, to sit down and eat, prep the food, like all of it. It just takes time. It takes discipline. It takes planning.
Yeah.
If early on when I was with my coach, you know, there was days and weeks that I didn't hit it 100%. And she would always tell me, she was like, if you're consistently not hitting your goals, it's a lack of planning. It's like, if it happens once, twice, like things come up.
Happens.
It happens. If you're consistently not hitting your goals, that's a lack of planning. It's not just because life is getting in the way. Like, you're letting it get in the way. It's not a priority.
Right. Wow. That's awesome. Let's say a little bit about your coach.
So my coach is Corinne Henich. She is a phenomenal athlete, a phenomenal person. She won the Masters Olympia in Japan last year. You guys should look her up on Instagram. But she's been competing for like 16 years. And she has so much knowledge.
Can you imagine? She's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, I hope I can last that long.
Yeah.
Because 16 years, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is.
She's done so many competitions. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been to the Olympia multiple times.
Wow.
She's definitely my inspiration.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you that are not familiar with bodybuilding, the Olympia is the world stage. It's like the Super Bowl for football. It's everybody in the world competing to show off the sculpting that they've done.
It's the best of the best.
The best of the best.
Yeah.
And it's the more that you learn about bodybuilding, the more that you learn about the bodybuilders, and you find out the things that they had to do to get to where they were, or the coaches. It's almost a sport now that you can't just wing it. No. You have to have, and you think of some of the best athletes in bodybuilding, they all have a coach, you know, and I'm sure even though you got years and years and years under your belt, that not having that blind sight of having somebody else be able to critique you, guide you, help you through some of the failures so that it's not devastating.
Well, even my coach has a coach.
Yeah.
She has so much knowledge, but you know, back to like the body dysmorphia, I feel like in this sport, you're looking and you're judging your own physique every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can like only focus on your shortcomings or where you need to improve.
Yeah.
That's where the coach comes in. They can look at you without that emotional side and say, okay, this is where we need to grow. This is the plan. I need you to follow it.
One of the biggest reasons that I recognized that I had body dysmorphia was because when I was in single-digit body fat, probably the best shape of my life, I didn't think I wasn't good enough. And I look back at the few pictures I took. I wasn't even taking pictures, and I think, man, I wish I would have taken more pictures. Like, I can't believe I looked that good. You know what I mean? You just can't see it in yourself.
No.
You know, so...
It's funny because if you go to any like big bodybuilding gym and you go up to, I guarantee like any of the big guys and you're like, wow, you have so much muscle. They'll be like, no, I need to grow. And they'll be like so shy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not a humble brag. It's literally like.
And to be fair to them, they're aiming for such a high top level.
Right.
To get there, they do need to grow.
Yeah.
They do need to improve.
Yeah.
But taking a step back and looking at your physique.
Yeah, where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
At an incredible point, even if, you know, mentally you're like, oh, I have so far to go.
Yeah. Back in the golden age of bodybuilding, women's bodybuilding was not as popular, but there were like Corey Everson, Dana Lynn Bailey. I mean, there have been some phenomenal role models who I feel like have really brought the sport along. And in a way, I almost feel like the sport has become more dominant with women. There seems to be more women entering the sport than ever before. Do you have anyone that inspired you to do that?
Honestly, when I got into bodybuilding, there wasn't a specific person that I had like looked up to. Honestly, I didn't know anything about bodybuilding.
Now, I skipped something. I think we need to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
The reason that you got into bodybuilding was actually very indirect. It was related to dancing. It was not related to Brock that time.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
How did you end up getting into bodybuilding?
It actually was related to Brock.
It was?
It was.
Both times?
Both times.
Oh, no.
So what happened was, again, at this point, I think this was back in 2022.
Right.
That's when Brock and I got married.
Right.
And at our wedding, we're going through doing the normal reception things, the dances, the flowers, and the garter toss.
Right.
And we went to do the garter toss, and I sit down, and my wedding dress had like a big bustle on the back. And so I like sit down. I was like, oh, I need to move it. I sit up. I move to the side, and Brock is behind me. And I'm sitting on like one of those metal folding chairs.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I think we need to come back a little bit. So he grabs the chair and he pulls it back as I'm sitting back. And I landed right on the edge of that chair. And I ended up breaking my back. So I broke my back between L5 and S1.
On her wedding day.
On my wedding day. It was, in the moment, there was like a glistening tear. And then I was like, no, I'm fine. Just got right back up. And I thought that was the end of it. I was like, oh, I have a bruise on my back. It's fine. We went on a honeymoon to Mexico. We got back. And at the time, I was doing CrossFit because that's what Brock was into.
Right.
So I do a big CrossFit workout. I get done. We have like a minute and 30 seconds left on the clock. And I had like 180 sit-ups to do. So I'm doing all these sit-ups on a cement floor. And I get done, I stand up, I go to do the last exercise. I have like 30 seconds left. I pick up a weight, and then all of a sudden I just feel this pain up my back, down my legs. Like I couldn't stand up, I couldn't lay down, I couldn't move. And so I just kind of crumpled to the floor. And my coach at CrossFit at the time, she comes over after the workout, and I'm just kind of like laying there on the floor. I'm like, this hurts and I can't move. She like helps me up. We end up going to the hospital later, and they're like, oh, you pulled a muscle. And I was like, okay, like pulled a muscle. I can't walk.
Yeah.
Like I literally can't walk. I can't move. They send me home with some muscle relaxers. I'm using crutches to try and get around for the next month because I couldn't put any weight on my legs.
For a month.
And after a month, I'm like, this isn't getting any better. So I get an MRI. And that's when they see, it's like, oh, you fractured your vertebrae in 2 spots.
L5,
it was like,
S1.
Yep, L5, S1 in the middle and off to the side. And then I had herniated my disc. So I think what happened was I had broken my back at my wedding and herniated my disc at CrossFit.
Yeah.
And then just like together, it was, really painful.
Right.
So at this point, after the doctors see like how bad the injury was, they tell me like, you probably shouldn't be weightlifting. You probably shouldn't be running, and you might not ever get back to that point. So, you're good to do a walk, like if you feel like exercising, but you really shouldn't be doing anything else. Like if you do those things again, if you're weightlifting, if you're running, you're more likely to injure yourself again.
Right.
And that wasn't good enough for me.
But knowing Annette's backstory, that didn't matter.
Yes. So I worked really hard, and it took me a year.
A year of physical therapy.
A year of physical therapy and, just stupid, simple stretches that I would do at home. It was so monotonous. It was so boring. But I was like determined. I was like, this isn't going to be the rest of my life.
Right.
And at that point, when I injured my back, I couldn't dance anymore. It was too painful to dance and like twist and move like that.
Right.
And so I took a break from dancing. And then after a year of physical therapy, And during that year, I also like gained some weight because I wasn't able to move.
Right.
After about a year, I got back into the gym, and I remember the first workout I did. I went to a bench. I tried to do 5-pound dumbbells and just do a curl. And I didn't realize, but you use your back muscles for everything. Yeah. Even just sitting up, it helps stabilizes you. So even like doing a 5-pound dumbbell curl brought me to tears.
And this was a year later. Wow.
But again, I was determined. So I kept going, and I would do as much as I could. Most days it would bring me to tears. I'd wear hats so people couldn't see me cry. And about, I would say 6 months into getting back into the gym, my friend challenged me to do 75 hard with her. But she didn't want to do 75 hard. She wanted to do 75 medium.
Okay.
So she was like, I want to do 75 hard, but if I miss a day, I don't have to start over. And I also don't really have to follow a diet. And as far as the reading goes, I can listen to a book instead of read it.
Okay.
So that was like
75 easy.
Easy, yes. And I was like, if I'm doing something for 75 days, I'm not going to do the easy version.
Right.
I'm going to do 75 hard. And so I started doing that, and I asked my husband, Brock, if he wanted to do it with me, and he did. And so we start doing this together, and every morning we wake up, we go for our, walk outside, we go to the gym, we get our workouts in. We do this for 75 days straight, and we don't miss. Not one single day.
Awesome.
And toward the last 2 or 3 weeks of this, we kind of look at each other and we're like, if we can do this for 75 days, we've made such amazing progress. Why not keep it going? Why not hire some bodybuilding coaches and train for a show? We can do it together. And that's what we did. And that's how we got into bodybuilding.
That is so awesome. It would be so cool to be the person that came up with 75 hard. I don't know his name, but I'm thinking about other people that I know who usually 75 hard is done by people who don't have a track record of athletics. They generally were not an athlete in school, so they don't have a team experience. But almost without exception, if they can finish that 75 hard, the confidence that they come out of that, it's like, why not?
Yeah.
I did it for 75 days. Keep going.
Yeah.
Nobody just stops and said, okay, I did it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And the thing with even 75 hard, if you go and kind of read about it from the owner or the guy that created it, it's not a fitness challenge.
No, it's more of a mind challenge.
It's a mind challenge. It's keeping that commitment to yourself every single day.
Yep.
And if you say that you're going to do something, you do it and you don't miss.
One of the things I mentioned how I felt like a Catholic priest because everybody confesses their sins. But in all reality, from that point on, I wish that everybody had the opportunity to do it just once. Because if they could do it just once, they know they can do it. I've helped a couple people lose over 100 pounds, and I used psychological techniques more than anything else, because the reality is when you have 100 extra pounds on your body, that negative body image has been reinforced by strangers, by family, by friends. And so the psychological barriers really are the biggest barriers. But what happened was every single time, they all said the exact same thing. We got down to losing 100 pounds, and I'd say, you did it. And they said, no, I've got 15 more pounds to go. Now they know they can do it.
Yes.
Now there is no unreasonable goal.
And they want to keep going.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was 15 years ago. And I recently decided, you know what? I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going back to single digit. And it's interesting because once you know you can do it, the pain's not that bad. And in fact, it's almost a little bit too easy. Like I worried in my mind, I could take shortcuts, and I like to have them throw in a cheat meal. But the main reason I have them throw in a cheat meal is because more times than not, when you don't know what you can do, and this is a new stressful thing, some family event happens, some event happens where you're with other people, you don't want them to feel uncomfortable, and so you eat the way you wouldn't normally eat. Psychologically, usually they're skipping those meals. They're not telling me this, but they're skipping the cheat meals. But when that happens, I say, when was your last cheat meal? Oh, it was like 2 weeks ago. There you go. There's your cheat meal. Move on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, also, I feel like food can be very emotional for a lot of people.
It's emotional, it's social, it's family. There's so many layers.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of people in bodybuilding, they struggle, kind of post-show with the food aspect of it.
Yeah.
But something that really helped me, that my coach did, is she gave me back so much autonomy with the food.
How do you mean?
So I'm macro-based.
Okay.
She tells me what I should eat. She tells me to stick to whole foods.
Right.
She lets me pick all my food.
That's awesome.
After my show, still macro-based, we adjusted the food, so I'm like gaining back some healthy weight. But she started giving me untracked days. She's like, you're too focused on the food. Like, go have a cheat meal or
That's awesome.
just eat intuitively.
Yeah, I love that.
And just giving me back that autonomy, I felt like mentally, like I've always been good with food.
Right.
But mentally, it just took it from like, oh, I'm not supposed to have this to this is my choice. Whether I have chicken and rice or a cheeseburger or something else, like this is my choice. It's my choice. It's my decision.
Yep.
No one else is forcing me to do this.
I love that. This is a community, and it's really fun because a lot of people think like if you're overweight, there's no way you could go to one of these places because you'd be so judged. They have no idea. Every person in there is rooting for them. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I don't judge a single person that is in that gym, no matter their starting point.
No, because it's you against you.
Well, not only that, but the fact that they are showing up.
Exactly.
That is huge. They have my respect.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care if you're a bodybuilder or your lifestyle. It doesn't matter. If you're showing up for yourself, kudos.
The hard thing for me is when people take the route of doing that much, using that much discipline to get to a show, but they vilified the food. And then after the show, didn't really know how to transition off of it. They have some of that evil food, and then they don't come back. And we've lost someone in the community.
Honestly, post-show, a lot of bodybuilders do talk about it, but post-show is hard.
Yeah.
Because you just spent the last, 12 to 20 weeks on this one specific goal of cutting down and losing weight, and every single week you're checking in, and then one day and it flips, and then you're gaining weight, and it feels like you're going backwards. The opposite of your goal.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people, struggle post-show because you're going the opposite. You don't have like a set goal in mind, and it doesn't feel as rewarding to start gaining weight.
No, it doesn't. It feels scary.
It feels so scary.
And what I tend to do is I'll yo-yo. I'll start bulking, and then I panic because I'm getting fat. So then I start cutting, and then I panic because I'm losing muscle, and so I'll bulk, and so it's this.
Yes.
Yeah. Annette, this is awesome. Next time we're going to bring Brock, and we're going to have Brock tell the story.
We should.
Yeah, so that we don't. I hope that this in no way slanders Brock, because I really do love Brock.
Oh, he'll tell you the same story. But yes, he would love that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm excited. I really appreciate you being involved with us. I mean, this is my baby. And so whenever anybody tries my product and they like it, like you have no idea. It's like literally you just said my baby's beautiful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've done such a phenomenal job of sharing it with other people. And I really appreciate that.
Well, let me just say I'm very thankful that you and Steve walked into the gym that day. It was a couple months ago. I saw you guys come in wearing the Clear Path jerseys.
Right.
I was like, oh, those are the people. That's the pre-workout. Because I was looking for you guys.
Okay, so I have a question about this. We haven't talked about this, but the first thing you said was, I had tried this before, but I couldn't find it. How did you try it the first time?
an acquaintance of mine had given me one of your sample packs.
Right.
And I had tried it, had an amazing workout.
Right.
And then afterwards, I tried it, threw the packet away, and it's like, oh yeah, it's like another pre-workout, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh. This isn't just another pre-workout. This is different.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember the name of it. Like I could like picture it, but it wasn't like, I didn't know where to find it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it was kind of in the back of my mind. I was like, yeah, like I need to find that brand. And then when I saw you guys come in, I was like, I think they are the ones that have that pre-workout. And, I came up and talked to you guys. And
yeah, that was awesome. I'll always remember that. I appreciate that.
So like with your pre-workout, Grow Muscle, why did you make it?
So the reason I made it is, like I said, I followed bodybuilders for a long time. And there are some pretty incredible sports supplements on the market. The problem was I did not consume any stimulants at all. Growing up in San Diego, you're going to get called on what you believe. If you say you believe something and you don't do it, you are a massive hypocrite. And so I had competed at my high school and got what was called the Ironman. I beat everybody else in high school. Helix High School in San Diego is a big CIF high school. Wilt Chamberlain went to our high school. It was a charter school, so a lot of the pros come through there. And so that was kind of the first time where I was just 100% no stimulants. And I attributed winning to no stimulants. So for 26 years, I literally had no stimulants. In fact, I had a friend who she said, well, there's caffeine in chocolate. And I'm like, I can't do without chocolate. I thought, well,
so you didn't have like energy drinks or anything?
Nothing.
No, coffee, nothing?
Nothing. In fact, when we were working on some flavors, they had to run down to the store and buy a bunch of energy drinks so I could taste them to see what they tasted like. Because I had no idea what they tasted like. They're like, well, let's do this flavor. And I'm like, okay, well, how are we going to pick them? And they literally ran down to the store, bought like 8 energy drinks, and they're like, taste this. Anyway, so long story short, there was a little bit of clarity, and they said, caffeine is not as bad as you think. And I'm like, done. The first thing I did was I went down and tried, I think it was C4, the most watered down pre-workout on the market. And it jacked me up. Like it literally jacked me up. Like my heart was racing. My hands were shaking. I knew better than to work out. And as a firefighter paramedic, up in Murray High School is a big bodybuilding competition place. And we had a kid who had 3 energy drinks. And I think he was used to Monsters, and they only had Rock Stars. They're the same tall energy drinks, but the Rock Stars have more caffeine than the other ones. He went into VTAC. He had a heart attack.
Oh, no.
And this is a chemical heart attack. And so we didn't have an antidote for a chemical heart attack. This kid died because of an energy drink. Like people don't realize, they started reporting stimulant injuries, and then all of a sudden they just stopped. But it wasn't that it wasn't happening. It was that the industry was trying to silence it. And the FDA would come out and say, you have got to get this as an industry under control, or we're going to have to regulate it and you're not going to like it.
I 100% believe that. It's interesting because I actually had a stepbrother who, drank some Monsters, and he ended up dying. He fell off a boat and he died. Yeah. Same thing.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
So with my background in Chinese medicine, we build herbal formulas, and there's a specific way that you add every single ingredient in to get the effect that you want.
And how did you get the knowledge to build this though?
So the weird thing is, living in Korea, I was exposed to traditional Chinese medicine, saw some things that just blew my mind. Like I had no idea it could be that powerful. Acupuncture, herbs, you know what I mean? And so the ironic thing was, in a traditional Chinese medical school in the United States, you have to do all the Western medicine. You have to do organic chemistry. You have to do physics. You have to do phys path. You have to do all of those things, even though you're learning how to treat it with a different paradigm. And so I don't know why, but I fell in love with biochemistry. Biochemistry just blew my mind that all these cells in our body are making decisions on their own. Like, we don't have to tell our cells it's time to eat. They just pull it across the cell wall and they go to town, and then they make energy out of it, and they, you know what I mean? And so fast forward, the passion obviously didn't end up being realized. I didn't go on to get a graduate degree in biochemistry, but I did have a clinical research and design class. And I realized every ingredient out there, if you take money from the government to do research, one of the ways that you pay them back is that you publish your research. You publish the cheat notes or the abstract.
Yeah.
And so you can go to pubmed.gov, anybody can, and just type in any ingredient, and you'll find all kinds of studies. And even though it's usually animal studies, milligram per kilogram is milligram per kilogram. If this was this size of a mouse, this many milligrams per kilogram, I'm milligrams per kilogram. At the time, I was 100 kilos, which is easy math. You know what I mean? And so I just became a guinea pig of myself. I looked at well, first of all, you learn not to trust what you read. What most people don't realize, a lot of people read labels, but they don't realize that when you take two ingredients and you add them together, you may understand the synergy that happens between two. When you take 8 ingredients and you add them together, there's no research on what happens when you take all these molecules, and some of them have weak bonds and some have strong bonds, and they become a whole new molecule. And so I started with a base formula. Like, I knew I needed beta alanine. I wanted beta alanine in there. I knew I need a medicine horse, which in Chinese medicine makes sense, but in Western medicine or allopathic medicine, this doesn't make sense. And so caffeine for a lot of these sports supplements was the medicine horse. It just sped up your heart, so everything spread throughout your body. And so most sports supplements use caffeine to deliver the ingredients to the muscles, even though caffeine is a vasoconstrictor and most of these ingredients are vasodilators. They open up the vessels instead of closing them.
With your pre-workout, though, it's not based off of caffeine, though.
No, it's not.
What is kind of your base? Like, what makes yours different?
I had to replace that medicine horse, which was caffeine. And I found this old school bodybuilder technique, or this old school bodybuilder ingredient, before they started using gear and even through using steroids. Their secret was niacin. Because niacin, what they didn't understand at the time of why it works so well, what Dr. David Sinclair found, as I had already created this product, was that if you inject high doses of NAD, which is what niacin becomes once we absorb it into our body, into old rats, they start to create new muscle. And mammals, as we age, we don't make muscle. And so to have an old rat be able to make new muscle, this was a new thing. This was kind of the beginning of the anti-aging revolution. They started adding other things together. But the reason that niacin worked really well as a delivery method is because when it gets converted into NAD, as we all need NAD to live. We don't realize this, but it's crucial for living. But we max out at about 20. From age 20 on, our body doesn't create as much as we need. And one of the things that our body needs NAD for is to convert it into a transport enzyme called NADH. So a hydrogen just bonds to that NAD. A transport enzyme is something that attaches to the cell and allows that cell to eliminate larger objects. So it can pull salt and sugar right across the wall of the membrane. It can pull water. We think of a cell as being a bubble, but a cell in our body is permeable. It allows water to come in, salt, sugar to come in and out to regulate the salinity inside and outside of the cell. But just like us, when we consume something, there's always a waste product. Our cells are the same. So our cells create this poopy diaper. That's the best analogy I have. And now that poopy diaper is too dense to go back outside of the cell. So now you're just stacking poopy diapers in the back of the minivan, waiting for this transport enzyme to allow you to dump those poopy diapers out. And because as we age, we have less of this NAD, as soon as we take that niacin, the first thing our body prioritizes is getting rid of those toxins. And so it converts it all into NADH. All of our cells just dump those toxins out into our bloodstream. Our body's alarm systems go off. They start freaking out because they think we're going septic, and we release histamine. And so the flush that comes from the product, the flush that comes from niacin, is actually a secondary effect of these toxins of getting dumped from all of our cells, bone cells, muscle cells, brain cells, fat cells, all the cells in our body.
Now, with pulling all of that out, where does it go? Like, does it just get reabsorbed after? Or
No. Well, ideally not. So ideally, it just, once it leaves the cell and goes into the extrastitial fluid, it ends up in our bloodstream. And then our bloodstream takes everything to our liver or our bladder to eliminate that waste, to protect us from that waste lodging someplace else, right? And so we work a whole lot better when we're clean. So you clean out all those cells. Now you're optimizing all of those wonderful sports ingredients to make it even better to progress. And that's one of the reasons why.
You know, it's kind of funny because I was talking to Steve the other day as well.
Right.
And with a lot of other pre-workouts, I feel like I could only take them for like a week or two, and then my body would be so exhausted from all the stimulants.
Right.
And I felt like, and I don't know if this is actually what was happening, but I felt like there was almost a buildup.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't handle it anymore. And I wouldn't take pre-workout for like a month or two.
It's ironic that you say that there's a buildup, because stimulants are actually not giving you energy. They're blocking something called adenosine that causes you to sleep. When we work, our body builds up adenosine until we have to go to sleep, right? Stimulants block those receptors, especially like caffeine, block those receptors so that we can't feel the adenosine. And when you feel that crash from stimulants, that's actually those receptors opening back up again. You've worn off, and now all that adenosine is coming in. Well, ironically, the body's always trying to stay in balance. Mm-hmm. And so if we do that enough, the body makes more adenosine receptors.
Oh.
And so now we have even more of a crash. Those adenosine receptors are all over. And as soon as you come off of that stimulant, all those adenosine receptors get hit with adenosine, and now you're really going to sleep.
Yeah.
So in a way, it does build up, but it doesn't just build up for a while. Those receptors didn't happen overnight, and they're not going to go away overnight.
Yeah.
And so it's good not to force our body to have to make more of those receptors, especially long term.
Well, it's interesting with the Grow Muscle because I don't get the same feeling with that.
Right.
Like I've been taking it pretty much every single workout for a couple months now. And I can still take it, and it's like smooth energy. Mm-hmm. I have a great workout, a great pump. And it's like a very like soft taper off. Like there's no like crash or the next day I'm not feeling like bogged down from like just being overwhelmed by stimulants. It's not.
So the body ideally runs on ATP, and you can't really bottle ATP. Your body, it's sort of a fresh source. Your body will take 1 molecule of glucose and it'll make 30 molecules of ATP. There are many, many things about Grow Muscle that either speed up the ability to make ATP, or they create the building blocks. They allow the building blocks to be available, readily available, for it to continue to make ATP. ATP can be used for anything. ATP can be used for sleeping. ATP can be used for breathing. It is the ideal energy source for our body. And so we're not just relying on a chemical to force our bodies to do something. We're allowing the body to decide how it's going to use the NAD, because there's lots of other great things it can use it for. And what people will notice is sometimes you don't flush. And they complain and they're like, hey, I think this batch wasn't mixed well. I'm like, you're clean. Like, trust me, it'll come back. Your body's always making waste.
That's so funny that you mentioned that, because I had a friend who recently tried it.
Right.
And she tried it once, and then the next 3 days she was like, can I have a little bit more? Because like I need it for my workout.
Right.
Can I have a little bit more?
Yeah.
And on the third or fourth day, she was like, I don't know if I'm getting used to it, but like I didn't flush the same way today.
Right. And that's a bad day. Like, I really don't like the days I don't flush. I'm like,
but it's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, the cool thing is, when I say there's other things the body can use NAD for, NAD, like, honestly, if you go down that rabbit hole, the things that it does are absolutely incredible. There's like, I don't want to, I know this is already a really long answer to your question.
Yeah.
But NAD is the medicine horse. The other ingredients, traditional Chinese medicine, we're working with the body. We're not forcing the body to do anything. Yes, we want the body to be healthy, but we know that the best way to be healthy is that decision is made by the body. And so if we can provide the tonification, that's a traditional Chinese medicine term, we can help the body become healthy. Anyway.
Now, this is a slightly different question. So like that's how you made it.
Okay.
But why did you decide to like sell it as a product and like share it with people?
So I didn't. Honestly, I made it for myself. It was just for me. I'm kind of a cheapskate. I wanted to go buy all these sports supplements, but the reality was like that would have been hundreds of dollars a month. You know what I mean? But when I recognized that if I build this myself, I have access to buying this pharmaceutical grade straight from the labs. I understand what you can and can't do. I understand dosing. You know what I mean? I was able to get a much more premium product specifically for me, not for everybody else, but specifically for me. And so that's how it started. And that I told you, I made it down to 5% body fat. That's what did it. And the thing was, everyone's like, oh, you're doing steroids. I'm like, I'm not doing steroids, but like they didn't believe me because they'd never seen me at 5% body fat. This was just the tool that got me there.
And they saw that something changed. Yeah. They just didn't know what it was.
And so they kept asking me like, well, what's your secret? What's your secret? And so I had a friend who, he's like, you gotta tell me a secret. And so I said, look, I don't use anything. I make it myself. And he said, well, give me some. And I said, well, it's in all these different bags. Like I have to literally mix it up every time I use it. And he said, mix some up for me. I want to try it. And he came back and he's like, here's $100. I want a month's supply of it. And so initially it was like, okay. And then I remember I told my wife, I'm like, I think I'm going to buy enough to do 10 months supply. And she's like, what? You're already spending all this money. And just blending it together in a Blendtec motor, and word kind of got around and it just kept growing and growing. I burned up my first Blendtec, and I lucked out.
I hoped you framed that up on the wall.
Yeah,
the original blender.
I needed to. Like at the time, it was a fail, so it wasn't like, hey, let's save this. This is a great fail. Yeah, it just kept going. And then, luckily, I was very, very blessed to be exposed to professional athletes really early on. And Bronson Kafusi, who was playing for the Jets at the time, he comes back one day and he's like, here's your NFL certification.
No way.
Yeah. And so I've got this number. I look it up online. There's my product approved for the NFL. Anybody in the NFL can use it. They don't have to get approved. Yeah, I know. Exactly. And then, here I'm this nobody and I'm getting phone calls from company owners. They're like, hey, we noticed you have NFL certification. How'd you do that? And I said, You just have to have an athlete that believes in you. There's no other way.
And your product has mostly just like spread by word of mouth, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I have really, really good friends. And there have been many times where this could have failed, and they've literally stepped in. I had terminal cancer, and I'm like, I got to shut the doors. I'm not going to make it. They've already told me like nothing works. And they stepped up. They didn't want to do without it. And so they were the ones pushing it. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, honestly, it really, I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed that we even have this venue to talk about this.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And again, I'm not so much on the science side of it. Like, I love hearing you talk about it. But even like when I took the pre-workout the first time, it was like, I didn't know why it worked, but I knew that it worked.
Yeah, and that's fine.
So it's so cool, like learning about like the science and like the actual why behind it.
Yeah.
It's a really cool product.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on and talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
This will definitely progress forward. I'm excited to come back and revisit this, maybe see how these next 3 shows go. Maybe interview before the Olympia stage.
well, I still got a ways to go before getting there, but we'll see how the next couple shows go.
The thing is, with your story, I don't expect anything less.
Oh, thank you.
So thanks for coming on.
Yeah.